G'day gang, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hidden Why podcast. My name's Lee Martinuzzi, the host of the show, The Hidden Why Guy, here to help inspire you to live your life with greater passion and purpose. And to do that, I believe we have to connect with our why. We have to discover what our why is, try and figure out what's important to us, and then use that as our navigational tool to drive us forward on our own journey towards greater freedom, fulfillment, and happiness. That's what it's about for me, and I want to help other people do the same as I go on that journey myself. And guys, it's an incredible journey, and it's an even more incredible journey when it is your own journey. So that's my first piece of suggestion or advice that I give to everyone is just make it your own journey. Guys, today I want to continue the conversation where I left off from last week. Now, last week I talked about the happy chemicals and, importantly, discovering happiness, because I believe something that's common to all of us, the why, is happiness. We all desire happiness, and I'm talking about a deeper level of happiness. So I started off with talking about happy chemicals because, biologically speaking, we have these chemicals within us that are a part of our evolution that can help trigger that sense of happiness, that state of ease and harmony and peace. And if that is the case, then if we can understand what those chemicals are, perhaps we can help influence how they are released or enticed or induced in our body so we can feel those states. Now, if that's all that happiness is based on just our biology, then so be it. But at least we can have a start at, influencing our happiness day to day just by understanding the chemicals. So those four chemicals that we discussed last week were dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Now, for each one of them, I tried to give it a simpler sort of view as I could, and we looked at the evolution of them, why they were important, and most of them were important just for our survival. So back then, that's what it was all about. Things have changed as our survival has become easier and easier. We use them for different reasons now. However, they're still important around creating happiness. So we gave some context to how we sort of use them this day and age as well in the modern world. I talked about all of them with some level of simplicity, but hopefully enough to give you some level of understanding. And all I could do is encourage you to really, if they interest you, if you're intrigued by the thought of why they are important and how they work, perhaps that's encouraged you enough to go out there and do your own research. Just jump online onto Google and type in serotonin, type in endorphins, and just find out some information. You don't have to go in depth, but perhaps in just researching it, connecting with the information, having a little bit of light learning, and then reflecting on it, meditating on it, you might be able to make some connection with how it relates to your life, how it affects your life in both positive and negative ways, and then seek to obviously change how it affects you in negative ways and just focus on how it can affect you in positive ways, which is to be more happy. So really interesting chemicals. Now, I did touch on serotonin, and I felt like I left you a little bit high and dry because I didn't really relate exactly what serotonin was for. Now, it appears that serotonin is there to help control our mood. It's for mood balance. There's a few other reasons why it's there as well, but mood balance seems to be a critical one. And I think that's really important because if your mood is out, then everything is out. And they say that if you've got decreased or depleted levels of serotonin in your system, you're more likely to go into depression as well. And they can definitely make a connection there. So that gives you a little bit of a nutshell of what serotonin is there for. But I've got this list of facts here that I just thought I'd read out to you and delve into before we go into the topic today, which is more about cravings and a deeper level of happiness and what we can do there. So I want to talk about serotonin a little bit more before we go in there because I love this chemical. I think it's pretty cool. And it's really fascinating. I'm learning something as I share it with you guys. So here are some key points about serotonin. More detail and supporting information can be found at this page. Now, this page is medicalnewstoday.com. I found it there in a Google search. So serotonin is an important chemical neurotransmitter in the human body. It is commonly regarded as the chemical responsible for maintaining mood balance. Serotonin is created by a biochemical conversion process. Serotonin is manufactured in the brain and the intestines. The majority of the body's serotonin is between 80 and 90% can found in the gastrointestinal tract. Serotonin is used inside the brain serotonin that is used inside the brain must be produced within it. It is thought that serotonin can affect mood and social behavior, appetite and digestion, sleep, memory, and sexual desire and function. So that's interesting too. And Loretta Bruning, in my interview, she said that serotonin really affects how we feel by others, how we feel respected by others. So if we have lower levels of serotonin, perhaps we feel like we're not really being respected by others. So perhaps there's a connection there, and that's certainly a connection with depression as well. So that's interesting about the social sort of side of things, and not just the mood, but perhaps if we, importance of relationships, again, if we have those relationships, perhaps that helps with our serotonin. It looks at appetite and digestion there as well. So certainly serotonin will help your digestive system, and obviously what you eat will affect your digestion as well. So serotonin works hand in hand there. Now, if you're eating stuff that's not good for the production of serotonin in the gut tract, I would suggest that perhaps that's not going to help your digestion either. And it can also affect appetite, sleep. So that's interesting. If your serotonin's down, you're likely to sleep worse. So again, if you're drinking, or if you're doing activities that are not helpful to the production of serotonin, and that's going to affect your sleep. And if you affect your sleep, you affect everything. Your hormones get thrown out. Your memory, it says here, memory from serotonin certainly has an effect there. Sexual desire and function. Your sexual desire doesn't decrease. Your sexual desire actually increases with the decrease of serotonin, and that's an interesting point too. So an association has been made between depression and serotonin. Scientists remain unsure whether decreased level of serotonin contribute to depression, or if it's the other way around. I think it's probably a hand-in-hand case, but again, I don't really know. Drugs that alter serotonin levels have important clinical uses, such as the treatment of depression, nausea, and migraine. Medical research continues to evaluate the role of serotonin in obesity and Parkinson's disease as well. So there you go. Oh, this is interesting. Last point. Other ways that body's serotonin levels include, other ways to increase body serotonin levels include mood induction, light, exercise, and diet. So there's some really cool points. And not only diet and exercise is really important, light. So getting sunlight is really important. So that really goes to show, man, to just, if you're feeling a bit down, not only can getting outside and just doing a bit of exercise, but just getting outside, getting out in nature, getting out in the light can really help to bring about that serotonin. So we need to do more of that. And I think perhaps, it's a little part of why depression is on the rise in this world, because we're all stuck inside, at our offices, at our desks, playing computer games, inside. We're not getting outdoors enough. So that is a really key point for me. And that gives me some motivation to get outdoors more myself. So guys, there you go, serotonin. Just wanted to touch base back on serotonin because I felt I left you a little bit high and dry last week as well. So let's talk about a deeper level. So we talked about this level that we can all sort of relate to. We can understand these chemicals, and we can understand how they work. And if we can understand that, perhaps we can do things that will help bring them on. So again, just recapping, serotonin, it just said there, focus on your diet, get outside more, do some exercise. That will help with that production of that. Looking at oxytocin, being in relationships, getting close to one another, touching, feeling, conversing. Really important stuff to bring on oxytocin. Endorphins, exercise, you can push that really well there. Dopamines, there's plenty of things that you can do that you can look forward to that can help release that, like a nice cup of coffee or something like that, or catching up with some friends. We want to focus again on the behaviors that are going to be conducive longer term as well, not just the ones that will bring us up now, but then tomorrow bring us further down. And there's plenty of those out there as well. So we've got to just be mindful of what those are as well. And that's why it's good to understand these and reflect on them, so you can be mindful of what behaviors that you might be doing that are doing the reverse effects of perhaps what you really want to be doing. So as far as discovering happiness goes, the chemicals are a good way to go. I want to go deeper to that, and that is looking at a life of craving, a life of desire, and Buddha speaks a lot on this stuff. And I don't, again, guys, know everything about cravings and desires and how that affects us. So I'm just going to reflect on basically how I see it in the modern world, how I see it in my life based on my experiences, and how it affects me and my suffering and my happiness. So craving can come in many shapes and forms, I guess. It can be both intangible and tangible. You can have the craving for love or togetherness, belongingness. And you can have the craving for a flat screen TV, or maybe a craving for a new position or a promotion or something like that. You can have cravings for a goal that you might be setting out to achieve. It might be to finish a marathon. It might be a craving to get your next fix. Whatever it might be, we can have these cravings, and And the cravings, in craving them, can also produce us suffering, but also in not having them can produce us the suffering. So it's sort of counterintuitive almost to have cravings. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting for me, is because, we want to accomplish things. We have desires, we have ambitions, we have dreams. And I really believe that it's okay. I think, hey, if you've got dreams, go out there and dream big and have them. But how then can you stop that from affecting this deeper sense of calmness and really being just peaceful with what you've got? And I guess I've just answered my own question, but it is just looking at what you've got and being present with the moment, not letting your cravings overwhelm you to a point that it's taking you away from what is now. And that's what these cravings often do. They can also be cravings of caused from the past. So if you look back to perhaps some experiences that weren't pleasant for you in the past, and you're holding on to those, you've attached yourself to those, you've got this craving to reverse it. You've got these cravings to somehow resolve what's happened. And that's, again, a craving that's going to cause suffering. And we all know that we can't travel, at least yet, back in time to change things. So again, whether you're looking at the future from your ambitions or looking at the past from what's happened, from negative experiences, cravings will come about. And if we can't seek to understand those cravings, where they come from, and how we can seek to reduce them, control them, minimize them, get rid of them, or just bring balance, then we're going to cause that self-suffering. And that's really this deeper sense of suffering that I guess I'm talking about, that I'm discovering. I think it's great that we can find things in our day-to-day, in our moment-to-moment, that can bring about happiness just by, bringing on these chemicals. But when it comes to a deeper level of happiness, we really have to try and find out ways that we can control those cravings. So let's look at the past first of all. So what is it that you might be holding on to and you're just unable to let go? And why is that causing you suffering? Well, if you look back, let's say, you had a fight yesterday with your partner, and, you're holding on to that because something didn't go right. You still feel a bit sour about it. You've got this craving to, be right, perhaps in the situation. That's you want it to be correct. You want to be right. That might be a thing related to ego. But you've also got a craving that you just don't want to have that experience, that fight. You didn't want to have it, and it's still there, and you've got that craving to wish it all away and that it didn't happen. But the matter of the fact is that what it is right now is irrelevant to the present. And the only way you can really seek to change that is to seek healing techniques. Now, for every past experience that you've had, every situation is going to require something different. But whether the situation now is pleasant or unpleasant based on that past experience, it is a matter of just accepting that as what it is, because you can't change the past. And that goes, actually, for the same sake, that goes if you've had a really positive experience. That positive experience, you might have that craving to bring it back again. Geez, that was a good part of my life. Geez, I'd like to have that again. And that sort of attachment to that past, whether it's positive or negative, can take you away from the now. And that's what causes our suffering, because we're not appreciating what is all right here. If we look into the future of our desires, our ambitions, it's the same. It's essentially the same situation. It's looking for something that doesn't yet exist. It's craving something that doesn't yet actually appear in anywhere in this present moment. And it can drive us up the wall because, again, it takes us away from the moment and what's here and what's now. And look, again, that's a very simplistic view on cravings, but that's just what I can take out of it. And if I look at my life and the suffering that I have, the things that cause me my suffering is certainly an imbalance of these chemicals, the happy chemicals, and the ways I'm using them. So certainly they bring me disbalance or dishappiness, and perhaps they sometimes the behaviors that I choose there to bring on some happiness is caused by a desire to escape that craving. And I think that probably comes back to a lot of people that have drug addictions or alcohol addictions or any kind of sort of compulsive habit or behavior that isn't really necessary, like even consuming, like eating or buying or shopping, things that we do to try and help us remove ourselves from those cravings. So perhaps that's why then we go out after these things that can trigger those momentary releases of chemicals, even though those behaviors aren't really that great for us or aren't that essential for us. And no matter whether it's taking a poison to intoxicate yourself and remove yourself from yourself, because once you can remove yourself beyond the self, then you can sort of let go of those cravings, because the cravings all come from the self. So, by intoxicating, you can remove that, and then you stop having that craving, and then you stop the suffering. But the same can be said from consuming, and it's an unessential behavior. We don't need all this stuff, and that can actually then fold into more chaos and suffering in our lives, because clutter often brings us chaos. Clutter often brings us overwhelm. Clutter often brings us anxiety and a craving for more stuff. So, and we talked about that, I think a couple of episodes ago as well. So really, we have to look at how can we get rid of that sense of craving, and it's not by seeking out immediate releases of that happy chemicals. It's about going deeper within in a better, more natural way. And the way that I've found more calmness is simply through meditation. And I am no expert in meditation. I have really limited experience there. I just listen and I try to learn what I can. But more importantly, I just act on it. I just do meditate. And I figure out things as I go along. And my goal now is, for the next 28 days, is to really get some consistency behind it, because I know the benefits are there. And all these people that I talk to that go, yeah, I did it, and I know there's benefits there, but I've stopped doing it. I'm going to start doing it again. And you sort of go, well, there's got to be some truth to it. And there is scientific truth to it now, that it really helps bring this level of calmness to our lives. It helps us remove ourselves from those cravings, whether it be an attachment to a past experience, whether pleasure or unpleasant, or a craving for an ambition or a desire of the future. It can certainly help bring us back into the reality of things. And I'm doing it morning and night now, in only 15 minutes, guys, and I do a couple of different breathing exercises and stuff, but really just to try and clear the mind. Now, thoughts you can never stop. They will always keep coming, and it's sort of frustrating when you're meditating, but it's also a good little challenge. And when you get to that level where your thoughts are really slowing down and you seem to be almost without, you just feel this sense of calmness and this presence in the moment. So that's just one activity that can help us really try and remove those cravings. And the most ambitious people, the people that are out there achieving freaking phenomenal things, they meditate. This is what they do. This is their practice. People like Elon Musk that are going out there trying to get people up to live on bloody Mars, for Christ's sakes. I mean, they're very ambitious blokes, and you can imagine the cravings that they have, and the pressure that causes on their own state of happiness. But how do they bring balance to that? Well, obviously they've got teams and stuff around them that can help balance the stress and bits and pieces. And they've probably got good practices about, creating and keeping balance to the hormones and the chemicals. But I'm guaranteeing you that most of them are meditating. Most of them are doing contemplative sort of activities, mindfulness activities, practices to help them really go beyond and just be more at ease with the now and be in the moment. Because once you can start just to be more present, and this is what it is, you can be more appreciative for what you've sort of got and what is now. And it can just help you sort of realize that, hey, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as what I think it is. And not that craving, having ambitions and dreams is bad, but it can cause you a lot of anxiety. And it's much better, I think, to have these big dreams and these big, ambitions, but to do it in a calm way in each moment forward. It's much better to just be calm and be really present with now and what is here, rather than holding on to what has happened in the past, because you can't change that. There's plenty of techniques out there to help you deal with that, but again, one of the best ones might be just simply to go within, to meditate, to create that level of mindfulness that makes you more present in the moment. Another good one that people often talk about is gratitudes. Now, this is it's just trendy out there, but what does really gratitudes means? Well, it really means about being grateful for what you have right now, and think about the simplest thing that we take for granted is breath, and breath comes naturally to us. If you hold your breath now, I can guarantee you without choice, you will open your mouth and breathe. You'll be able to hold it for so long before you just go, ah, and your brain will just make you breathe. There's only certain ways that you can stop that, and I don't encourage that at all. But look, I think really being grateful for what you've got now, like what's right now. How can you relax in the situation no matter how pleasant or unpleasant it is? And how can you become more appreciative of that situation? And there are plenty of gratitudes out there. So when you think it's just all against you and the world's crashing down and everything's gone to pus, try and figure out what isn't, what is good, what is really great about the moment. I'm sure it'll be hard at first, but once you start thinking about it, there's plenty of things that you can look around. So if you're sitting there right now and you're going, oh, life is just tough. If you have legs that still move and you can still walk, look down at them and just be, hey, look, I've got legs. This is pretty cool. I can actually stand up and walk. And because those people that can't walk, they don't have that thing to be grateful about. But then you look out there and you see people. I just saw someone post on social media the other day, a guy that has no arms and legs, and he climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, I think it was, one of the highest mountains anyway, and he was up there climbing. He did it, defeated it. And, so what do we have to complain about? It's about being grateful and being present for the moment. So, guys, that is the end of my Discovering Happiness series. That's all I want to talk about today. That's 2 parts. So let's look at the happy chemicals. What can we learn there? What can we understand? What can we better influence so we can bring about that happiness in the moments and in ways that are conducive longer term, not just short-term fixes that will keep us in that place of superficial happiness. And then how can we go deeper? How can we go deeper into that sense of reducing our cravings from the past to the future and really connecting to the moment more deeply through meditation and perhaps gratitude exercises? Guys, if you love the thought today, if you find some value in it, please jump into thehiddenwhy.com. Leave me your comments and thoughts there. Connect with me as well. You can connect with me on Facebook and Twitter. And my email thehiddenwhyguy @gmail.com. That's at thehiddenwhy.com, so you'll find that there as well. Guys, appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you share it with your family. Share the love. Helps me rank higher in the tunes and spreads the message further. So I appreciate all of you. If you could just, click on that button when you finish listening to this today and just share it with your network. You don't have to post anything dramatic. Just say, hey, this was cool. If you did like it, of course. That'd be very, very grateful of you. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I am so appreciative of you coming back to listen to another one of my solo rants. That's it from me. You know what to do. You need to go out there and breathe more passion into every single moment. You need to do everything with greater purpose, and in doing so, you will discover your why. This is The Hidden Why. My name is Lee Manutsi. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. We'll see you soon.